Welcome to this special edition of the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director, and I'm very pleased to have a couple of special guests with me today from the state champion. You see our state championship trophy here. Ravenwood girls soccer team, first in the school's history in soccer.
Yes.
The girls had been to the finals, we said, a few years ago. I've got head coach Brandon Mead and senior Tori Case. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So what a great season. Obviously capped off with that 3-2 win in the state championship game over crosstown rival Brentwood. A question to start us off for both of you. It had to be extra special. I mean, state championship, come on, whoever you play, right? But one, being over Brentwood, which is obviously a big rival for Ravenwood, but also a team that had beaten you 3 times before. That had to be extra special, right, Coach?
Absolutely. You know, I think going into that game, you know, it kind of heightens everything, knowing that they're a rival, knowing how good they are, the size that they are, their soccer IQ, all of those things. So we knew it was going to be tough. Regular season, you really don't know what you're walking into, how well, you know, we're going to be tested, and how we respond to it. We had a tough time with our 4-3-3. I think they did a good job of pushing their backs going forward and really causing our left wing and right wing to drop in, forcing us in more of a defensive formation. I think that that's where they had a lot of success with us in the first 3 matches. I know that the girls wanted another shot. I know that talking to Kirsten Mello, that was something that we had spoken about. You know, potentially we could see each other in the final. But we were just taking it game by game. But yeah, it was awesome playing them in the final, having that opportunity, and there was nothing sweeter than defeating them, scoring 3 goals in the second half, the last 40 minutes. So it was awesome.
Tori, talk about that, getting an opportunity to play Brentwood in the final.
It was like a dream come true. I feel like we worked every time that we played them, we got better and better and better. And we just knew getting off the bus there at Page that we were going to win that game. We just wanted it so bad. And we had learned what we needed to learn, and it was just time to execute, and that's what we did. You
know, it's interesting the way you're talking, Tori, that's that champion mindset. You hear similar kinds of stories when you talk about people who have achieved at the highest level, and obviously you guys have. Let's talk just a little bit of background before we talk about your season. Coach Mead, your first year as head coach at Ravenwood, you were an assistant the previous year. Obviously you're no rookie to coaching. You spent some time at Hillsborough High School as well, but I'd say this was a pretty good start, by the way, in your first year as a head coach.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Tori, the team obviously adjusted pretty nicely to the coaching change. I mean, you were familiar with Coach Mead before. Talk about that change, because you had a great season last year, too.
Yeah, I think we were all less focused on the coaching change and more focused on what we wanted to do, which was win a state championship. So we adapted really well. We already knew Coach Mead, and so we just kept our game plan going and didn't let it bug us that much.
So 2018, you were district tournament champions, region runner-up, and then you drop a match to Houston in the state semifinals. Coach Mead coming in, you know, obviously you know what you had coming back. Did you think this was a possible run, or are you not even thinking that far ahead?
I mean, I think it's a process. I think it goes day by day. You know, I think we had an opportunity, but, you know, I think we need to learn through that process of taking risks, trusting that process, trusting each other, sacrificing for one another, and doing all of those things, you know, is the recipe for that success. Yeah. And I think just working on that throughout the course of the season, those things started to creep in our mind, you know, as we continue to believe and find out more about ourselves and responding to adversity. And yeah, it did start to creep in our mind. I didn't want to, you know, jump forward too quickly, but you know, we kept working day by day and believing in each other. And you know, I think kudos to Tori for, you know, leading that charge. We had a lot of conversations, but I think it's her energy, her thoughts, the way she feels about it that really transpires to the rest of the team. So she really dictated that mindset, the mentality, the psychology, and also the work ethic for the group to move forward and kind of set us up for that.
Well, and Tori, that's something I was going to ask, but you could tell by your answer and what Coach said. As a senior and one of the leaders on the team, and maybe the leader on your team, that was your mindset going in. Hey, we've got this goal, right? We've got this bigger thing that we're wanting, regardless of who's here, whether it be a coach or players maybe we lost. Sounded like to me you're on a mission.
We were so on a mission. I knew that all I wanted was to win, and there was nothing going to stop us. And once we won the region, or when we got to the state, the first game of the state tournament, and we won, I didn't feel like we were going to lose that week. And I had a feeling that we were going to win, and it happened.
You know, and you can't make it happen without that belief. So that obviously I knew that belief would be strong. I hear this when I talk to these state champions that come in. Let's talk about your season overall. This is for the entire year. You're 14-4-1, runner-up finish in the district regular season tournament and region tournament. And talk about this. I've always been with soccer in this county. It so prepares you. I mean, if you can come out of our district in this county, because I look at it and think, hey, if you dropped, let's say this year, Franklin and Independence in the state tournament, they probably do pretty well, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about that district and how it gets you prepared.
Our district is so good, and in our district tournament, we had to beat Independence that night to go on.
At Independence?
At Independence, and Anna Major came up huge for us in scoring that goal. That was probably the game I was most worried about the entire state run, was that one game, because if we would have, nothing else would have happened if we had lost that game. So for her to score late in that game the way that she did, and then to get out of district, that was a huge step in the right direction.
Absolutely, and I think I referred to our district as a gauntlet, you know, and it does prepare you. I think those two semifinal matches, I know that we beat Independence in the regular season 1-0. We knew it was going to be more of the same. We kind of canceled out each other, and Anna Major was able to put one in. We won 1-0 in that semifinal. Brentwood beat Franklin 1-0 in that semifinal, and yet we find ourselves in the state championship. You know, it's so deep. Williamson County, you know, to be able to get out of it, you know, and move forward into regionals is quite an honor within itself. But yeah, I think it just shows to the depth of the conference, or Williamson County, and I believe that in time, I heard that we were also going to get Page in Nolensville potentially.
It'll happen
which
eventually.
will also add to the depth of the county as well. So, yeah, it definitely prepares you, those district matches. We try to leave adequate amount of time for preparation for those matches, making sure that we're healthy for those matches, just so, you know, we can play the game and hopefully get 3 points. So, yeah, it definitely, those games will prepare you for the best of the best.
So talk to our viewers a little bit. You mentioned the 3 points that maybe aren't just diehard soccer fans. Talk about that earning 3 points.
Yeah, if you win a game, you get 3 points. If you tie, you won. You get 1 point, and if you lose, you get 0. And those 3 points are so valuable in whomever you play against in Williamson County.
Because if you have a tie, it could come down to the points right at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Goals for, goals against, all of those things. So every point matters. Every goal matters.
I'm curious about your scheduling philosophy, because every match you play in the league is so tough.
Yes.
What do you do outside the league? And I don't know if you made the schedule for this year, but
I did.
What's the philosophy there? Do you schedule as many matches as you can? Do you not do that? Do you schedule tough opponents?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of an art. You try to get it to where it suits you, and other coaches try to do the same within our district. We try to prepare going into districts, we want to make sure that we have adequate opponents, high-level opponents that are going to prepare us for that. Also, we want to see the depth of our group, so we try to get a couple games in to where we can get those players in as well and kind of test them in those environments. I know before Franklin and Brentwood, especially Independence as well, we didn't try to schedule a game before we played them. We wanted a full week of rest. So it's kind of an art in how you set it up, and I felt like we had a good schedule going into it, kind of gauging who we were going to play, when we were going to play them, and who we were going to play for those games to keep us healthy throughout the course of the season.
And Tori, I'm just guessing here that you play a lot with and against some of these players in your travel
I do.
time too, right? Talk about that a little bit. Teammates with any of these
I'm teammates with almost all of them. I think about
You and
half.
some of the Brentwood players too, right?
Yes, about half my travel team is in Williamson County. So, and then I play with them for the rest of the year. So from starting the day state ended to June, I'll be on a team with all of these people. So it just, you have to find kind of the light of the situation and just
Yeah.
have fun with it. We can compete all day long, but at the end of the day, we have to be friends for our travel season. And I've grown up with all of these
Yeah.
people. So for us to come together, especially in the last game, and get to play against each other, and it's really cool.
And as any good friend would do, I'm sure you give it a little dig every once in a while too, right?
Yeah,
They would do the same thing, by the way.
yeah, for sure.
Coach, talk about it, because I think in soccer too, the travel piece, and I guess it's happening in all sports now, it seems to be such a part of the soccer culture. How do you navigate that as the coach, or is it even something you're concerned about? Because they are playing year-round now, basically. Do you keep that in mind as you coach, or is it not even a consideration?
I try not to. I feel like there's such a hotbed of talent around, us, to where we don't have to travel incredibly far to get what we need to prepare us for those things. And that's just from the high school perspective. I think from the club perspective, they're traveling all over
Yeah.
the country, and I mean, so much time has been spent. I think, when I was playing at that time, they'd started a Y League, which was a regional thing. I'm
Yeah.
from Michigan, so it was, in the Midwest, and we'd travel to different states around there. But, now, I mean, these girls are traveling all over the place. I mean, to Florida, to California, and, so much time is spent on it. I do worry about them, but I think as long as they're just gauging it appropriately, I want them to get enough time to rest and really, be involved with their academics and enjoy life as a kid. They're still growing. So I think just the stress of the balance is what's important
Yeah.
to me.
Tori, how do you fight that physical, and I'd say even mental as much as anything, sort of burnout from having to play so much? Do you go through periods where you have ups and downs a little bit?
There's for sure days that I just don't want to go to practice, or I'm just like dreading a game. But once you get out there and once you start playing, I love it so much that it doesn't even cross my mind to ever be burnt out, I guess. And I take a lot of time for myself and with my mom, and we go on trips and we travel. And this past week we went to Orlando and we got to go get lunch. And so it's really nice you can do both. You can have both sides of it.
Very well said. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the season. So again, we mentioned you finished runner-up in the district and region tournament, and now you enter the state tournament. Let me ask you this, Coach. Did you like the draw when you saw it? I mean, ultimately, I guess the best part of the draw was being opposite Brentwood, although Houston was looming in your bracket too, and they were the number one team in the state, supposedly, right?
Yeah, they were back-to-back champions.
When you guys faced them. But talk about that draw. What did you think about it?
It's really nothing that you can control. The only thing that you control is the team that's going to be right in front of you when the whistle blows, and that just happened to be Stewart's Creek. I think we got some good scouting reports on them. I think that we were very prepared for that match. I think that we handled it pretty well. They had a couple players who were dangerous on the dribble that we were able to, suppress and force them to the left. They were biased in going to the right. So I think we got a good scouting report and knew what we had in front of us. And that was basically it, with the draw. And then whatever happened with the other games. So it's just beyond your control, and you play whoever they put in front of you. Bottom line, you're going to find a good team when you get into the top 8, no matter what.
First round, you knock off Stewart's Creek 4-1, and then semifinals, Houston. Tori, were you excited about, because they ended your season last year, were you excited about getting a chance to play them in the semis?
I was really excited, and all the seniors knew.
I knew you would say that, by the way.
Knew how much we really wanted it, and we really wanted to win this time. And the weather kind of helped us, I felt like, and it just made it even more fun.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's my next question. I was talking about, so I went to that match. It was interesting because Brentwood and you guys were playing at the same time. It was an absolute mess because of the rain. And you said you thought it maybe helped you guys. Why do you say it helped you?
Because
you were the underdog?
Yeah, and we were a team built on like grit, and we were gonna go for it, and we worked so hard that I think that's what pushed us over the edge in that game for sure. I think Marcella's scoring at the end of that just showed how like we weren't giving up. We were all muddy and dirty and wet and cold, but we weren't giving up until we won that game. And I think Houston may have struggled in that aspect.
And the celebration looked fun.
It was really fun.
I wasn't looking to dive in a puddle, but I was like, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. Yeah. Coach, what did you think about the conditions? Were you okay with the conditions, or?
Yeah, I mean, you have to play in whatever they tell you to play in. You know, you can't really spend a lot of time on that. I can tell you that we had little meetings on the bus heading to Murfreesboro for that game. And I believe that the majority of the time that we spent on tactics was pretty much thrown out the window once we got there. We saw, you know, I mean, on top of the grass, there was, you know, enough. I mean, it was like a standing puddle. And so you kind of have to think, well, what do we need to do now to be successful?
Yeah.
Because we can't really link to feet. There's not a lot we could do possession-wise. So we switched a couple things at halftime, but yeah, we pretty much threw everything out the window and said, we're going for it. Just play safe in the back, put it into their third, and try to let them make the mistakes, and hopefully we could finish and lock it down defensively. Houston, it's very, very good, very talented from top to bottom. They had very special players, and we felt like especially it took a couple of their girls off the dribble. It was tough to dribble, so those puddles kind of helped us in that way. But yeah, like Tori said, it just comes down to grit and who wants it more. And I think, you know, our leadership in Tori really set that tone in saying, you know, we're not losing today, we're winning this game. And I remember hearing that before every single game in the playoffs, you know, and when that comes from one of your leaders that all these girls look up to, you know, they believe it and they want to work for it, and it showed. Absolutely.
No, that's great. And forgive me for my maybe my novice understanding of soccer, but the passing through the air versus on the ground, because the ball hit the ground. I mean, it just stopped. So that had to be something that you had to deal with as a player. Let me ask you this, because I've always thought this with soccer because of the extra time that's kept on the field. You scored, it's what, the 68th, 70th minute, I think, of the match, and you have to be just waiting for that whistle. I've always thought that's interesting because in other sports, when you look at the clock, which you guys do, but then there's extra time, so you're just waiting for the match to end. Talk about that, Tori, as a player.
We just wanted to close it out. We knew that if we could just defend and get the ball out of our half, that we could win that game. And Faith came up huge for us in goal at the end of that, and we were solid in the back for the last 3 or 4 minutes of that game, and it saved us.
And something I thought was interesting, because those matches were ending about the same time. And this is just me looking back, thinking I thought this at the time. But it seemed to me that the Ravenwood crowd, and I'm not talking about the players, but the Ravenwood crowd and fans were so embracing, we get Brentwood again. And I felt like there was a little nervousness to Brentwood because they had beaten you 3 times, but ultimately, if you win the championship game, which you do, the other 3 are forgotten.
Right.
So I thought, did you sense that from their players at all? Because you said you guys were, did you think they were a little uptight playing you guys a 4th time, or could you tell?
Maybe a little bit. I think it was more of like an, we have to play Ravenwood again kind of vibe, rather than like, I don't think they were cocky at all, because beating a team 3 times is really hard, and I think they realized that. It just happened to be our day on that Saturday and not theirs.
Brentwood had given up something like 3 goals, I think, all year, 1 to you guys. They're 16-0 entering the tournament. I mean, not that you were this massive underdog, because to me you weren't, especially if you look at your scores of your previous matches and then the quality of your team. But that really is a big deal, that you take a team that scored 3. I mean, you guys only given up like 16 or 17 the whole year too, right? But 3? Right. You know, that's pretty tough. So, Coach, talk about what a big deal that really was. I don't think we can overstate it, really.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with, you know, Brentwood and what they are. I mean, they didn't sub a whole lot. They're big. They had good soccer IQ, and if you got behind their back line, they had Devine back there, Katie Devine, who's going to Vanderbilt. So just another player to beat in goal. So that it was that tough. But I think the pressure was off us a little bit and kind of turning the mentality around. The message was, we've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
This has happened to us 3 times. I know we're frustrated with it, but guess what? We get another stab at them. We get another shot at them. It's a state final. There would be nothing sweeter than to pick them off here, to do it here. And, they did it. It was a storybook ending for these girls.
I saw a comment from Faith Vanston, right? Am I saying
Yes,
her name
correct.
correct? The goalie. And she had made mention of that. She could tell that was your mentality, kind of like you were talking about, like, hey, the pressure's on them, and this is our day. You could feel that belief by reading her words. So now you go to the championship game. The weather's been terrible, and this was exciting for me as the athletic director in the system. TSSAA gives us a call and says, do you have an issue moving it to Page? By the way, Brentwood, Mr. Kydell said, we'd be glad to play it at Brentwood. I said, I don't think that's going to happen. But talk about playing on that surface. So the wet surface, that's one thing. What about this faster, I'm assuming it's faster, right, surface?
Absolutely.
How does that impact the game? Is that more of a neutral effect? Does that favor one team or the other based on how your teams were built?
Well, to be honest with you, in the back of my mind, this is something that I never shared with the team. I was going to kind of keep it to myself. But, the last time I think when we were on turf, we lost to Nolensville.
Yeah.
And that was our previous loss. It was the first loss of our regular season. And we lost that one 1-0, and it was on turf. And in my opinion, I didn't think that we linked up well. We didn't pass the feet as well as I thought that we could have, because when it moves quicker, you just have to be a little sharper, a little bit more precise, playing to feet and things, and a little bit more well-weighted through balls and things like that. I think, so I was a little nervous going into it, I kind of kept that from the girls and kind of kept with, we've got nothing to lose mentality. I had to eat that one, so now it came out. But that's how I felt going in.
Do you like playing on the turf? Does it matter to you?
I like it and I don't like it. The ball moves so much quicker, so
Yeah.
it forces everyone to play so much faster, and that's when games get really fun, is when it's going, like everything's going really fast. But I don't like it when you fall and you have turf burn everywhere.
Yeah, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
That's definitely different. So, so you talked about the game being faster, Tori. Do you think that had something to do with the 3-2 score? 'Cause that's a pretty high score in that game.
I think so. I think it had a lot to do with the 3-2 score because everything just was so much quicker. All the passes were quicker. The shots went quicker. Everything came off so much faster that it allowed more chances. So we capitalized on that.
State championship game, and again, you look at some of the adversity you guys have gone through during the season. Olivia Olmstead of Brentwood scores in the 8th minute. That's pretty early in the match.
Yes.
So, Coach, what's your mentality then? Because I know whether you're ahead or behind and when you're ahead or behind in any sport is going to impact how you play. Is that early enough in the match that you're still sticking to the game plan, or do you have to change a little bit?
No, absolutely. And we had been in the situation before with Brentwood, if not once or twice, in those previous games that we had played. We were down 1-0, I believe, in 2 other matches. So it was somewhere that we had been before. You typically don't like to give them up early like that. Those are things that we talk about in training. But it happened. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is move forward. At halftime, that we were talking about, we had a little bit of a wind at our back and talking about taking shots, 25-30 out. Marcella, she had a beautiful shot from there.
Ferrero Preto.
I
got it.
Yes, you got it. Tori having that beautiful free kick outside the box.
Which tied it at 1, right? Am I right, or did I
Yes.
get that backwards?
Yes.
Yes.
And that was in minute 55, right?
Yes.
And then, like you said, Marcella scores. Now you're up 2-1.
Yes.
And they're behind, and it's late in the match, and now do you see them maybe kind of panicking a little bit? Although they did score 7 minutes later, give them credit, right?
They did, absolutely. And something that I want to share that I haven't shared. But when I go back and look at the film, I look at all those things in the highlights. It was an own goal, that second goal, and the first one on the scene to console that player. And I think of all the scenarios that could have happened. You can shun her, you can blame her, you can point the finger, you can do all of those things. Tori was the first one
Yeah.
on the scene to console
Leadership.
her in that video. Absolutely, 100%, and you see that. And then I saw the rest of that group come and console her, and that's what makes it special for
Yeah.
me. That's what makes my job so great, to see those things happen, see it come to fruition, see your leadership
That's
stepping
pretty
up
neat.
that way. It is.
That's pretty neat. Then in the 68th minute, Coach, I want you to talk about this a little bit because this is a great story, I think. Courtney Hill comes up big for you and scores, and you talked about her journey, that she wasn't playing maybe as much as she wanted to.
Yes.
She didn't pout about it. She comes to you and says, Coach, what can I do to play a little bit more? And then she scores the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how special that was.
Wow. She struggled early in the season, and I think she expected more, she wanted more, but it's going about it the right way and working hard in practice, testing your teammates and being that great teammate, being that cheerleader when you're on the bench, all of those things. And to watch her continuously get those opportunities and make the most of it and create those memories, not only for her, but for her team. And then, in that moment, she gets another opportunity. Anna Jar plays a beautiful ball in just inside the top of the box, and she strikes a beautiful volley to the left corner. It was just, you can't script it any better than that. It was absolutely amazing, and I think her reaction, I think she broke out into tears after she scored, but it meant that much, and to give kids those opportunities and have them make the most of it. It's just an incredible experience. I love to see it. It'll probably change her life and hopefully her perspective on life and how you go about it through sports. I think that's important.
Yeah, what a great example she set for everyone else as well.
Yes.
So Tori, now you're up 3-2. You got to go through the pain of those last 12 to 15 minutes. Describe that feeling though when the match ends. Can you describe it?
I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know whether to cheer or cry or
And you
run
did all
around,
the above,
and
right?
I did all of the above. I think I just hugged the first person I saw, and then everyone just kind of gathered around us.
Yeah.
And I just kind of didn't want the moment to end.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Coach, had to be a dream come true for you too.
Absolutely. You always dream what it would be like to win a state championship. I had never won a state championship as a player. Just to be a part of a final is something special. To win it, I still wake up in the morning and go, hey, we won a state championship. It's just unfathomable.
And they
It's
can
incredible.
never take it away from you.
That's right. That's right. What I tell these girls is their names, when Andy Elrod sends that in and they get their names on it and it goes up in the trophy case, that'll be there forever, something that they can come back to and look at and maybe if they stick around and their kids, go to Williamson County schools, maybe something if you want to take them in there and show them your name and teach them something too. I'm all about that.
It's pretty special.
It is.
Tori, tell our audience what's next for you.
I'm going to enjoy the rest of my senior year. I'm going to play on my travel team, and then come next year I'll be at Austin Peay playing soccer.
That's great. Any of those Williamson County folks playing with you at Austin Peay or?
There's one girl from Stewart's Creek, but no one from Williamson County.
Off of your travel team? Mm-mm. Yeah. No, that's great. Coach, what's the off-season look like? Obviously you're preparing for, I guess, an encore here. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to repeat, but talk about what the off-season looks like for you guys and what you're expecting going forward from this program.
Yeah, I think I'm getting into the scheduling, getting a lot of emails, people wanting to play us, and I'm going to try to put it together in a way that, will be successful for us moving forward, and then just continuing to build on the culture, the positivity, the effort, working hard, being a good teammate, sacrificing individual wants for team needs, all of those things that it takes to have something like this, to have an experience like this. I don't know if it can be replicated. It might be. We're going to give it a go next year, so absolutely.
Well, it's very exciting. We're all so proud of you. I want to thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
To talk
Thank
about
you.
Ravenwood soccer. And again, we're just so proud of you here in Williamson County Schools.
Thank you, Darrin. Thank you so much for your time.
We'll see you next time on the Coach's Preview Show.